Hola y bienvenidos una vez más a un programa.
Hello and welcome to our show, El Mundo, the World. And this time we're going to talk to Dr. Michael Laitman about the virtual connection. How can we use it in order to reach an inner connection? Hello, Dr. Laitman. Dr. Laitman, hello. Thank you. A great pleasure to be with you. Norma, thank you very much. You, as a scientist, and also a person who understands human nature, have a deep understanding of human nature, we'd like to ask, neuroscience is trying to analyze and research how does the virtual world affect the interpersonal relationships that people have, and this is what we'd like to talk about today. And the thing is that the virtual reality, according to research done by scientists in Europe and the European Union or Committee for Neuroscience, says that virtual reality influences networks in the brain that affect our relationships with other people, and increase our ability to connect. What do you think? Dr. Laitman. Well, we did not research this enough, and we don't understand this enough yet, but of course, when we learn about the virtual reality that we're going into, when we start connecting with one another, then we're really changing our brain cells and we're building new systems. We cause these states to start flourishing. And obviously, the more we develop virtual ties between us, the more our brain systems change. Norma, if so, what researchers discovered from their point of view is that it's as if the purpose of nature that's trying to program human beings and the relationships between people. Dr. Laitman, it's all possible. The only question is, to what measure will it help us achieve a good and happy life? That's the question. We can make many changes in nature, but usually we see that, unfortunately, when we follow all of these changes, usually they don't make our life any better. Norma, if so, what changes should we implement in order to make our life better? Dr. Laitman, to know how to come closer to each other, and only because usually by coming closer to each other, we can also see bad things happening as a result, and we see it from life. Usually when we have a desire to keep our distance, that allows us to keep our peace and live a more comfortable and peaceful life, and coming closer can bring to war, or vice versa. Meaning, not everything is unequivocal here. Norma, what does it mean to come closer correctly, especially in a virtual environment? Dr. Laitman, that's a problem. We have to learn how to do this. Because here we're going into the systems of nature that we usually don't really use. We're not experienced in them. And if we really want to come closer to each other, it's good for us to first of all start with the little things that will get organized in small groups and learn our group psychology. Not from what different scientists that came from an egoistic background already wrote before, but here we really need new experts. in short, what it says about it in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Norma, research adds that by understanding the point of view of the other, that this is something necessary to improve our interpersonal relations. And when it doesn't happen naturally, the technology of virtual reality can facilitate this process. From your point of view, how can technology help create empathy? Dr. Laitman, I still don't see this happening in practice. We also see that everything depends on man's ego. We're all egoists. And unless we first of all correct our nature, then everything else that we'll do, it'll all be egoistic and will eventually bring us to destruction. But what we need is to first and foremost reach a state where we learn first and foremost about the virtual systems. How can we discover them? How can we control them? How can we change them? And afterwards, gradually to reach them in practice, practically, in order to build them. I'm fearful of people becoming engaged in this before they correct their own nature. Because whatever an egoistic person makes will be an egoistic system. Whatever comes from an altruistic person will be altruistic systems and so on. So we have to thoroughly understand where we are. Norma. But according to what we see today is that due to the pandemic, we are already entering this virtual world. Many of our activities, whether things that have to do with family, work, social activities, they shifted from the physical to the virtual. We're already in this reality. Dr. Laitman, what do you mean by virtual? That we're simply connected through networks? Norma, for example, when we have Zoom talks, or all the different sorts of media that we use now for our work, everything that we do long distance from home, people don't necessarily have to physically drive to work, but much of the things are done from home. So a virtual connection or even learning, there's a group, different parts of the world, like your students, for example, Dr. Laitman. I'm really supportive of this. And I think that we're already ready for these kinds of virtual networks, and this pandemic is helping us to shift into it, because it's forbidden for us to be physically connected, to be physically close, and a virtual connection is allowed. Norma, if so, we want to learn how to use these technological means in the best possible way in order to reach an interconnection, which isn't artificial, but to really be connected at heart in thoughts. Dr. Laitman, I don't think that it's that simple. A virtual connection isn't a spiritual one. Spiritual means that it is in order to bestow, in order to cause good to others, that I rise above my ego and start working to the benefit of others. And I disconnect from my ego, from what I feel as good, or usually as good, and that I'm really with others, together, with the other, as if I'm part of their body, and I don't feel my body. I completely don't take it into consideration. Norma, if so, how can we reach that state? Previously, we talked about empathy. Is this one of the elements we need in order to reach that, or are there other elements? Dr. Laitman, it's not ordinary empathy that I simply treat someone else favorably, nicely. It's something that's hard to explain. That the other, to me, becomes more precious than I myself am. Norma, if so, maybe let's go back to the beginning. How would you define an interconnection? Dr. Laitman, the interconnection means that I am together with another person's heart in that person, and I'm doing everything to their benefit without taking myself, my own benefit, into consideration whatsoever. Norma, how does this system of interconnection work, especially in a world of a virtual connection? Dr. Laitman, virtual connection can help us to develop such systems, anti-egoistic systems, but that's it more or less. It's just a means. And that we come out of the physical into the virtual connection, let's not delude ourselves that as if we can start treating each other favorably now. That doesn't mean that at all. Norma, the interconnection, is it something psychological or deeper? Dr. Laitman, it's deeper because it stems from a person's nature, helping those people that know how to connect from themselves and how to connect to others. They're simply inside the other, doing everything to their benefit solely, as if they take all the desires and interests of the other and work only with them. Norma, something really intrigues me. Up until now, our relationships were based on our five senses. We have a physical connection, we meet our friends, we meet at work, we use all of our five senses, but that changed in the virtual connection, meaning, do we have to develop an additional sense? Dr. Laitman, what changed as a result in the virtual connection? Norma, I can't feel someone's perfume. Dr. Laitman, no, I'm sorry. Don't worry about the perfume. Soon we will be able to do that too. Norma, yeah, you mentioned this before, that we will be able to sense, but Dr. Laitman, not a problem. We can create an entire illusion around the person that he is physically connected with someone else. Even though that you're very far away, you will be able to feel yourself as if you're next to me, for example. Suppose here next to me, there's something on the table, then you'll feel as though you're sitting a few meters away from me. And the same atmosphere and the same everything, same scent. It's possible. All in all, it's not a problem. Norma, if so, what I want to try and understand is, what kind of special sensitivity do we have to develop, and how do we come to that in order to be able to feel what you're talking about, as if the person's next to me? Dr. Laitman, it's not being next to someone, it's being inside someone else's heart. This is what I mean, that the spiritual connection isn't a virtual connection. It means to be inside another person's desires. Suppose I permeate you, your heart, your mind, and I'm inside you, and from inside yourself, I look at your heart and mind, and this is what I work with. So what changes here? What changes is that I have all your information, but the forces to realize this information are mine. And so what follows is that besides that you're acting according to your own desire and understanding and everything, you're getting an additional force with my desires and thoughts and everything that I am. That there are two in you. You and myself. And I connect to you in order to realize what you want, what you're thinking about. Norma, at what moment does it connect, if so? At what moment do you achieve the symbiosis, the connection in thoughts and needs? Dr. Laitman, if we want for it to be that way, I can't do it without you, and you can't force me to do it. But if both of us decide, for example, then it's possible that, if so, I enter you, your inner systems, and that's where I am. Norma, it's like making an inner radiography kind of image. Dr. Laitman, that's called adhesion, an interconnection between two people. Norma, was there a change, a shift? Will there be a shift in global consciousness as a result of this virtual change? Dr. Laitman, if we'll come to this, then surely the world will change. We can change the whole of reality. First of all, we'll be interconnected. We will start feeling, seeing the desires of everyone as one desire, everyone's thoughts as one thought, and everyone's forces as one force. And then we will be able to be in a system that's called Adam Arishon, literally meaning the first man. Norma, this is if we're talking in terms of the collective. How is this done? You just need the desire in order to reach it, or Dr. Laitman? Only a desire.
Dr. Laitman, tenemos otros
Norma.
interesantes por explorar.
Dr. Laitman, we have many more interesting topics in this regard, so thank you very much, and we'll see you on our next show. Dr. Laitman, thank you.